You guys have tuned into the Reddit Tube Dude, where we explore interesting and new subreddits, talk a little bit about Reddit culture, and occasionally deep dive into specific Reddit posts. And I thought this one was kind of interesting. Today's post comes to us from r/news, and the title of this post, which is from an apnews.com article, is White House extends student loan pause through August. So let's talk a little bit about this. Obviously, student loans are a huge issue. The fact that we have 16, 17, 18-year-old kids able to take on hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt to get educations, oftentimes in pointless degree areas where they'll never have a chance to make back that money, is just kind of a silly system. The cost of college has gone up hundreds of times what inflation has. And we're at a point where going to college no longer really makes sense for probably 75% plus of college students. Now, a big topic of discussion these past few years has been student loan forgiveness. Everybody talks a big game, but really Republicans nor Democrats really want to push this through because they'd be going against the bankers, and it would also be very expensive for the country. Also, it's kind of good for quote unquote the system to have people be debt slaves for the rest of their lives. So Joe Biden campaigned on promising to forgive student loans, I think at first entirely, then up to $50,000. I think he's changed his stance again and said up to $10,000. And during COVID, like a lot of measures, like a lot of, kind of public assistance measures, we didn't cancel, but we paused student loan payments because a lot of people were out of work. A lot of people were struggling financially. Kind of like Joe Biden's eviction moratorium, which extended well beyond when COVID was really a problem. And, even after most businesses had opened up, the White House has once again, I guess not paused because they were already paused, but they've extended the pause. I believe it's through August, and it's pretty easy to see what's going to happen. I highly doubt the Democrats and Joe Biden are going to reinstate student loan payments before the midterms. So what's likely going to happen, and I doubt they're going to forgive them either, because typically when you give people something, they're not going to come out and vote for you, because at that point you already have at that point, they already have what they want. And, I suppose some people may go out and vote for you as a thank you, but you don't really have anything to hang over people's heads. It's kind of like the marijuana legalization that's going on right now. Even though something passed the Senate, highly doubt anything that is going to get done, because it's one more issue you can hang over people's heads for the next election. So what will likely happen is Biden will keep extending this. He'll kind of maybe get some goodwill for people for pushing back their student loan payments, but he still has something to hang over people's heads for the midterm. So that's just a little bit of context. We're not going to read the entire article, but let's read some of the comments here. And I thought this one would be interesting to dive into. For those of you guys not familiar with Reddit, r/news is, Reddit as a whole is very left-leaning or very liberal, very progressive, whatever word you want to use to refer to it. But r/news even more so. It's not as bad as like politics, but one of the things about Reddit is r/politics isn't about politics. It's about liberal politics. So that's why, even though there's so many, I don't know if you want to say interesting, but so many big news stories going on in the world. And if you go to r/politics, every single article is something about January 6th or Trump. It's not really about politics. Kind of same thing with r/news. There's a very big slant to what articles get posted, what articles get upvoted, and kind of the attitude of the subreddit as well. We might hop around a little bit here. We're going to sort by new comments. I feel like that's kind of the most genuine. When you go by like hot comments or things like that, that's what's been upvoted. Obviously, Reddit, the platform itself, is very easy to manipulate. You can buy upvotes. And then also something that people should know is the vast majority of subreddits are controlled by a handful of moderators. So the discussion, the topics, the messages conveyed are very controlled. So at least when we go by new comments, some of these comments may wind up getting deleted, some will wind up getting downvoted and you'll never see them. But at least we're getting kind of a feel or the temperature of what's going on in this kind of thread discussion right now. So let's hop in here. and we'll refresh it just so we got the freshest comments here. This was posted 6 hours ago. Biden claims to want to forgive 10K since he doesn't have the guts to do it without Congress. He should just leave it paused for his entire term. That's because elections are coming up. They'll continue payments the first thing next year. So at least people here, I am against all political parties. I think I'm against all politicians. I think pretty much anybody who gets into politics, for the most part, is getting into it for their own agenda, to do things for themselves, to do things for their business, to do things for their family. I think very few people who are genuine and really want to help people actually get into politics. And at least people are kind of realizing that the Democrats aren't your friends. The Republicans aren't your friends either. But I think Reddit tends to think that like AOC is your buddy and she cares what's best for you. And that's just not the case. The pause will end after the midterm, so it seems like this is a popular or a common theme. I'm stuck, really. I don't have a high debt. 1XXXX. I could put a big payment down with no interest and have it paid off sort of quick, but what if I do and it gets canceled? I'd be pretty bummed out that money went to nothing. And this is kind of what this whole issue hinges on. Well, student loans are a huge problem, but if we forgive student loans, unless we actually correct the system by lowering the cost of college, by not giving everybody money to go get degrees in basket weaving and film and video game design, that they're going to wind up owing $200,000 on. And, here's the reality. Most people aren't going to become the next Kanye West or a big music producer. Most people who go to, the big school here in Chicago is Columbia. That's kind of the art school. That's where people go for music production and things like that. But the vast majority of people aren't going to be producing, hit records. They're going to be working in the AV department at a church or a school or something like that, and they're never going to be able to pay off the $150,000 or $200,000 worth of student loans that they took on. So unless we actually kind of correct this problem, get more people going into the trades, get more people going into fields like green energy, getting more people going into the medical field, getting different certificates, unless we actually correct the problem, there's no sense for giving student loans, because 3 years from now, we're just going to be in the same situation all over again. And this is also where things kind of get unfair. How is it fair that somebody that went to an expensive school, got a bullshit degree, gets all of their student loans forgiven, yet the person who worked through college, went to 2 years of community college, went to a cheaper state school in order to not be indebted for the rest of their life, they're basically being punished for doing the responsible thing. And then I think this whole student loan pause thing is, at a time when the government needs money, everybody's holding off and not paying their student loans or not paying more into their student loans because they're holding out hope that it'll be forgiven, and they don't want to be the sucker that paid them off first. Who fucking cares says, then you'll be like everyone else who paid off their debt after it was forgiven. That's cool. I wasn't planning on paying any more anyways. There's actually another interesting subreddit that maybe we'll explore sometime. I believe it's called Student Loan Defaulters. And it's a lot of like whining about student loans, but there's also people who are like, I'm giving up on life in America. I'm going to move to Africa and live in some village, or I'm basically going to leave the country to escape these student loans. They're just going to keep extending it until the Republicans get in power in November and strip all of our freedoms away. You can't really look at the Republicans like the bad guys here. I mean, the Democrats, are in a position where they could forgive student loans. Obviously, they're not going to do it. It's not necessarily a popular move amongst everybody. But basically, the Democrats are just too big of cowards to actually do, I don't want to say what needs to be done, because I don't necessarily think this needs to be done, but they're too big of cowards to actually do what they promised. So they're just going to kind of kick the can down the road and basically let somebody else be the bad guy is what that amounts to. So I should start taking out student loans. I've always wanted to major in art history so I can make all the monies. Keep kicking the can. That's kind of just what I was saying. LOL, just canceled them already. I am waiting. It's called edging you rubes. Just fucking cancel them. I can confirm PSLF. I'm guessing that's like the student loan forgiveness program where somebody works for the government or in public service for 10 years and then they supposedly get their loans forgiven. Less than 1% of people who apply for this program actually wind up getting their loans forgiven. I've actually heard some discussions on Dave Ramsey before where people are taking lower paying jobs in public service in the hopes of getting their loans forgiven. And Dave Ramsey often points out, like, look, like less than I think I might have just said less than 1%. I forget if it's 10% or 1%, but basically almost nobody winds up getting approved for this program. So he tells people you're better off going into the private sector, actually making some money and paying down these loans than working for low pay for 10 years in the hopes that maybe you'll be the lucky 10% or 1% or whatever it is. Anyhow, this person says it did work for him. That Matt Schultz says, I can confirm that PSLF does work. I work at a public university. I made 120 payments and 38K in loans were forgiven. No taxes need to be paid on it. And the kicker is that they calculated 3K in overpayments, which they refunded. So this guy, not only did he pay a portion of his student loans, but he worked in a public university for 10 years. You figure if he could have made even $10,000 a year more, whether it be working in the private sector, private university, whatever it is, over the course of 10 years, that's an extra $100,000. So he gave up $100,000 to get back $38,000. And it wasn't even necessarily guaranteed that he was going to get back that 38, or I guess with his overpayments, that 40 or 41 or whatever it is. How about we stop sending money overseas and cancel the loans so people can focus on boosting our economy? That's a great point. Look at all the money we're sending over to Ukraine to basically somewhat sort of not really pacify a situation that we created in the first place. I also saw Joe Biden wants to spend $6 or $7 billion to send a woman and a person of color to the moon. I don't necessarily believe that a white person has been to the moon. I don't necessarily buy into the whole moon landing thing. Call me a conspiracy theorist or a wackadoo or a tinfoil hat guy. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we can get into, not really what I'm talking about in this post. But just seems silly. Like, there's really no point in going to the moon, even if you do believe that we have been to the moon. We've been there already. There's not really any resources there. There's really nothing to be gained by going there. So we're pissing away $6 billion to do something woke, send a black person and a woman to the moon. And that money could do a lot more back here, in my opinion. Let's see. Yay, that we should give the anti-work complainers more time on the couch. COVID is over. What is the fucking logic now? And that's true, right? Like, nobody cares about COVID. It's amazing that the airline mask mandate is still in place. Outside of that wacky New York mayor and the airline stuff, I mean, at this point, you really wouldn't even know COVID existed. All the testing centers have been shut down. All the businesses that weren't destroyed by lockdowns have opened back up. There's really no reason to be having quote-unquote COVID measures after COVID is over. Really, the only reason to have it is to help out people whose lives have been destroyed by the COVID measures in the first place. Now y'all are being way too optimistic. The Dems will restart student loans right before the midterms, thinking their moderation will sway red hats into voting blue. They're going to extend the pause through the end of the year and after the election to keep voters from getting mad at the Democrats. But since Biden's campaign lied about forgiving some student loan debt, I really doubt voters will be that impressed. Calling it now, these will be on pause till he's up for re-election or whoever follows him. It's just dangling a carrot at this point to keep us voting Democrat. All these pauses, why not just cancel it? Just cancel student debt, cancel it, end it. Want to win midterms, win the presidency in 2024, cancel student loan debt. And again, let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I'm not sure whether people will vote for you to thank you for doing something that helps them or favors them, or if, at that point, I got what I wanted, thanks, appreciate it, but, I'm probably not going to go out and vote. Before we wrap up this video, I am going to go over to, we'll sort by controversial and see what people have to say here. As someone that paid a fuckload of money on my student loans and it kept me from kickstarting parts of my life faster, fuck it. Just forgive them and move on. I don't care anymore. All I know is that too many people avoid going to humanities, arts, etc. because of college being expensive as fuck. You know why people don't go into teaching? Because they don't want to be on the hook for that much money knowing they'll never pay it off. This guy edited this post and said, I wish people would just pay their debts they signed up for. Yes. Do I wish college wasn't as expensive as it is? Yes. Just saying, end this stupid game of he will, he won't, and just be done with it. And again, there's no sense in canceling student loans unless we're going to actually correct the problem and lower the cost of education, get people into career fields or degree areas that they actually stand a chance of making money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I had some other point to make about this. Let's see. Oh, in terms of teachers, this whole teachers don't make any money is kind of a myth, though it really depends on where you live in your area of the country. In my local area, very good school district, teachers are paid very well. Obviously, all teachers' salaries are public knowledge, public information. You can look it up online. And obviously, so basically in my area, the schools will pay for teachers to get their master's degrees, even though there's no research that actually shows teachers with master's degrees or doctorate degrees actually do a better job of teaching. And in some cases, the data actually shows that they do a worse job of teaching. But not only do the teachers get their master's degrees paid for, but then they get a huge salary bump for having that master's degree. They don't even have to go to the college. The college actually sends a professor out to the school, and they do it after school for like 2 or 3 hours a night in the lunchroom. And in my area, no lie, there are kindergarten teachers making $120,000 a year with a $22,000, $23,000 benefits package. There's also PE or gym teachers making $125,000 a year with $20,000 benefits packages. Even in the city of Chicago, and I'm not going to say that's not a rough job. It definitely can be a rough job in certain areas, a lot of impoverished areas, a lot of troubled students, etc. But even in Chicago, I want to say they start off making, I forget if they start off at $75K, maybe they start off at $57K. But within basically a teacher with 2 or 3 years in is making close to $80,000 a year. Chicago is a relatively affordable city, especially for a large city and a world-class city. So the teachers are paid very handsomely. You also have to figure that they're only working 9 months out of the year. They get way more vacation and days off than anybody else. I know people say, oh, but teachers work after school lets out, da 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 da. Well, yeah, so does the rest of the world in many cases. So, don't martyr yourself. A lot of people work overtime. A lot of people have to take work home with them. I feel like teachers are very out of touch with reality when it comes to that issue. And also, if a teacher wanted to, they could get a job over their summer break and probably pull in easily another $20,000 or $30,000. And you'd have teachers in Chicago making easily 6 figures. That's on top of if they want to take on tutoring, coach a sports team. I think one of my cousins who coached sports made something like $7,000 or $9,000 for every additional sport that she coached. Let's see. Love how nobody talks about the fact that student loan companies haven't been paid by the majority of people for 2 years, yet the companies didn't just go bankrupt. Let's see what people have to say to this. Private loans aren't affected by this. Only federal loans are paused. At best, you might be referring to companies like Nelnet, but they are contracted by the federal government. You realize no one with federal loans is refinancing to private loans, right? If we can pause it for 2 years, we can cancel it. Fiscally, absolutely. Politically, no way. I know Reddit doesn't want to hear it, but Biden really has made steady progress on student loan forgiveness thus far. Billions in forgiveness for teachers, those with disabilities, and those defrauded by for-profits, i.e. those that need it, that most need it. And no one has had to make a student loan payment to the government since he took office. He is a big step from Trump. The Trump admin was doing everything possible to break the promises made during the Obama administration. In fairness, why would Trump keep Obama's promises the same way? Why would Biden keep Trump's promises? Why would Trump keep promises from a previous administration? That's stupid. I completely agree. We'll give them an upvote. Because continuity in government is important. Let's be honest. No party is going to continue what the other party did. Look at Joe Biden just reversed a Trump-era policy that sent illegal immigrants back to their home countries because of the dangers of COVID. And this year we're expected to have 6 to 8 million more illegal immigrants than we had in years past. And this is at the same time that Biden is telling us there's going to be food shortages, there's housing shortages, inflation is out of control. So we'll end it on that. We're getting a little bit off topic here. If you guys liked this video, this post, this thread, give it a thumbs up. If you want to reply to my thoughts on this video or this topic as a whole, go ahead and drop a comment down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel and you like the going-ons of Reddit and you want to hear more about them, or if you have a suggestion for a subreddit or a particular Reddit post you'd like me to explore, go ahead and drop it down there below. That's all I got for you guys. If you enjoyed the video, all that good YouTube stuff, and we'll catch you on the next one.